Hello, everybody. This is Sty, Antinatalist. And mark my words, there will be GoFundMe pages set up for the parents of the victims of the shooting in Uvalde, Texas. I have some thoughts about that. First of all, when you have a child, you know of the impending doom of that child. You know when you brought them life that you've also brought them death. Every biological parent should provide for their children's final expenses as soon as that child is born. They should set up funds and trust funds, and they should have burial expenses, crematory expenses. They should set up a life insurance plan to cover for that child's eventual demise, because inherently they are going to suffer age and die. That is a given. It's very repulsive that people flock to collect money for premature deaths, if you will, of offspring of parents. They do this for victims of cancer. There was a Canadian family. The father had at least 2 or 3 daughters. Maybe the wife was pregnant, even. But the wife and the daughters died all in a car wreck. This happened in Canada about a year ago. And there was a GoFundMe page to pay for their elaborate funerals. Accidents happen, folks. When you have children, you have to expect the worst. You have to prepare for the worst. There's so many better ways to spend money than on elaborate funerals. And I don't know if the families in Uvalde, if they had savings, or, if they were prepared to pay for unexpected expenses. Maybe not. But it's irresponsible to bring lives in the world in the first place and not to prepare for their deaths in the second place. I'm a child of a family that did not provide for any of my future. Nothing. Zero. And even, above a car or a house or an education, or clothes, or any kind of insurance, much less life insurance. Wow. It would have even been such a gift if my parents had just provided final expenses. If they had thought so much of me as to have, provided a fund for eventual burial. But no. And, when children fall into the pits of zoos, there's a rush to collect money for, to support the family and whatnot. And the woman, Elizabeth Durkosh, whose son, I think his name is Jason, or no, I don't know. I don't know the boy's name. It's been so long, but it happened in Pittsburgh. And she teetered her son over the wild dog sanctuary at the Pittsburgh Zoo. And he fell out of her hands and bounced out of a protective catch netting and into the mouths of the wild African dogs. And he got mauled and killed. And there was such a rush to, support the mother and help the family financially. When you have kids, you should never be supported financially. You should work. You should save. You should bank on your family's help, your friends' help, neighbors' help, community help, your church or synagogue's help, but nobody else. You alone decided to bring a life into the world. The child did not decide to be born, to be conceived. That was your choice. And the child did not consent. No permission was given for the child to enter life's harms. It was your endeavor. If I want to go out and get, a car that sucks up a lot of gas, it's my choice. But the gas bill is my responsibility. When you have children, those offspring are your responsibility. And mark my words, there are going to be so many elaborate gifts and memorials, placards, if you will, even a lavish funeral for the lives of these young kids that died. And there were many, many other young kids that die prematurely, unfairly, painfully. I mean, this is just, a media fanfare. People feel good about themselves giving money to support a lavish funeral because they themselves don't want to be the victims of a school shooting. They don't want their children to die from the results of, male violence. And they think by way of giving money or pledging money to a GoFundMe page that, somehow it's going to come back to them. No parent should be rewarded in any kind for having a child, nor that child being victimized. Children are in a better place because they are not living and suffering and worrying. Now, that's not everybody's perspective. I know that. When you are enlightened and when you have thought about the consequences of life, you will come to this conclusion. And my purpose for this video is to show empathy and nothing else. Empathy for the children that lived, loved, lost, and died. Even the shooter, if you will, he did not give consent to be born. Whatever disturbances he had, In his mind, whatever anger, whatever hate, whatever revenge or troubles, he did not ask for that. And every one of those children had suffered before their lives ended 2 days ago. Every one of them. From the time they were born, they felt hunger, thirst, deprivation, cold, heat, loneliness, pain. Every one of those children. And they were doomed to so much suffering. Had they lived into their teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even 100. And people like to think, their childhood was lost. Now the victims, the ultimate victims, are the ones who are left damaged and harmed physically, but are still living. Those are the real victims. So the philosophy of antinatalism is a philosophy that spares everyone from the harms of living and preparing to die. And antinatalism protects every race, every gender identity, every species. Antinatalism is irrefutable. So, to summarize this video, I just want to say that I think it's very frivolous for people to, give money to these families when the families created the children. The families brought the children into existence, knowing that they would suffer, age, and die. And secondly, that when we die, we are spared future harm. So, no matter how you look at life or death, no matter how you see the perspective of each of these children's lives being cut short, and it was cut short, but their pain and anguish was also cut short. Thanks for listening, and please comment below.